good evening, welcome to a bumper, super, hyper, ecstatic, elatory edition of the Gooner Ramble podcast. I'm your host for the evening, Giles, and with me tonight I've got Clive, who's jumping off the walls. Evening, Clive.
Yep, I am elated.
And we've got James at his effervescent, jubilant self. Hello, James.
Yeah, I've locked the door on a balcony. I'm two stories up. I've nearly jumped, mate.
Our first opening night of Champions League. Coming into a bit of form against a Zagreb team who, admittedly, aren't one of the superpowers of of European football, but had gone 11 months unbeaten. Have a fantastic home record. They've just come off of beating some team 4-0. I think they've conceded once in like 10 matches or something like that. On a very muggy evening in Zagreb, Wenger decides to make 6 changes to the team, and we promptly go out and shoot ourselves in the arse, in the foot, in the head. I want to get your assessment on how you saw it first, James.
It was absolutely shocking.
When you saw the team sheet, what did you think?
Why? I've Carling Cup, Capital One Cups next week. If you're gonna make wholesale changes like that, and then you get idiots, and I will call them idiots, going, "Oh, I'll lose this game if it means we beat Chelsea." I don't want to lose any fucking game. I don't want to lose any game, especially Champions League, in a group where we got Bayern Munich. We've got to go into the next game, try and take points off Guardiola playing like we do. No chance. He will laugh his way onto the pitch with the players that he's got at his disposal. We weren't even really peppered from the wings much. But with Bayern Munich, with the players they've got that run, like, Douglas Costa and Iron Robin and stuff like that, you just set yourself up for failure from the start. It's so pointless. All that we're not good enough to make 5 changes like that. We're not a good enough team. I'm sorry. It's just absolutely ridiculous, and it just seems like the same old rubbish every single year, and it's just irritating because it's just, unless the big wholesale, change at the top, and it's not just the manager, it's the board that let him get away with it as well. It's just a serious lack of ambition for me. I'm like, you've had 18 stabs at it, you've got 1 final and 2 semis. It's not good enough. It's just not good enough at all. That's my opinion.
Clive, I'll come to you. I want to put a listener's comment question in here. It's from @Gunner Down Under. He asks, question, the lineup, is it Wenger's naivety, arrogance, thinking it's an easy opposition, or is he resting up for Chelsea on the weekend?
I think he's. This is one of Arsenal's biggest weaknesses, right? It's not the squad. It's how we approach strings of games. So we've always done it historically. When we have 2 or 3 big games on the trot, we start to look forward. As soon as we look forward, we forget the moment in front of us. Right? This happened many, many times, all the way back many years. I can think of loads of examples. So we've got Zagreb, we've got Chelsea, and we've got Spurs, all in like a week. So he's now making plans. So what that does to players' mentality is it gives them excuses. So straight away he keeps Ramsey at home and he keeps Bellerin at home. Smart decisions when you see that people like Varane and Bell broke down last night, Company broke down last night. After big emotional international games, bodies got overloaded, they broke down. We've had people like Ramsey break down before. I'm thinking, you know what, smart decision. What I don't like is how the players have reacted to the rotation. So straight away you see Giroud, he's sulking, and he's thinking, well, I'm not playing against Chelsea. I've got the ump. So you look at Oxlade-Chamberlain, he's sulking. He's thinking, well, this treating Champions League game as like a secondary game. Rather than going out there like Gibbs tried to do and really put the effort in. So what really disappointed me was the players that we really are relying on, like the Ox and like Giroud, in my opinion, weren't in the right frame of mind to really maximise their opportunities. And then we have others like Arteta, who basically just found out tonight that they weren't quite there, but I'm sure we're going to speak about him. Debussy got into the game well. Gibbs got into the game well. The goalkeeper's he's a decent goalkeeper. But it's that collective response to rotation that disappointed me, that made me think that's a bit unprofessional. We're part of a highly paid Premiership squad. We should be able to individually recognise that we're at a point of the year when we are accumulating points to position ourselves to make a run in the second half of the season. Accept the rotation. This is where we are now. Deliver, and we move on. But I felt some players sulked. We looked for excuses, and we deserve what we got.
About Giroud, I mean, do you think Giroud's two early misses, the header that he put wide, and then the effort later on in the first half where I think the combination of he hit the post and the goal, he kind of hit it against the keeper. Do you think that was down to a lack of effort?
The first one was a brilliant header. He got up really well for that. But the second one is, and you know, I'm not a really, really harsh critique of him. I'm not one of these people that just every single time he misses, I'm like, oh, for God's sake, like he needs to leave. Get rid of him, sell him. But that second one was absolutely that for me is ridiculous miss. Like honestly, that's dreadful. That's dreadful. That's like a Sunday League style miss, that is. And he's meant to be the main, he's meant to be the main man, and he just feeds into more of that, hatred of not doing what we should have been doing in the transfer window. For me, the way things are going up front, I think Walcott needs more of a run as the main man, and hopefully he gets it because he's keeping up, he's scoring, but we'll probably talk about that more later. But honestly, I can't wait for Danny Welbeck to get back because I'm getting sick and tired of these misses. I'm like, just throw someone else out there, someone new, because for me at the moment, Giroud, I'd keep Giroud out of the team for a little while now. I think the stuff that's happened with the national team getting booed and things not definitely going his way, I think mentally he's just not all there, and that showed earlier tonight. It was a bit like Wayne Rooney against, I want to say Macedonia for England all them years ago, where he just lashed out and got sent off, I just think mentally he's not there at the moment, and it's a detriment to the whole team because that was just utter stupidity doing things like that, and we don't need that. You don't want to go in the Champions League, and like you said, I think we sort of took Zagreb for granted. I think we thought maybe we're the Arsenal and we'll walk that, and we've been made to look silly again.
Clive, I want to come back to you now. Are you here? Back with us,
yeah,
Clive?
I'm back. So I'm
Good.
just right now.
No problem.
Full flow.
No problem. You mentioned that Giroud was sulking and he wasn't up to it. He seemed to be being petulant. The two early misses, the two chances he had in the first half, do you put that down to lack of effort, him sulking, or do you put that down to something else? Because there were fairly good chances, and
I just feel he's feeling sorry for himself. Right, so, the first header he had was a really good header, actually. That goes in, and he's bouncing, right? And then the second one, again, he's a bit unfortunate. He made the wrong selection. But what really disappointed me was his reaction. He just looked so sorry for himself. You know what? There's a few people gone out there tonight, including people that we know. They've spent money to go and watch him play. Don't feel sorry for yourself. You get in a first-class flight home. Some people are trawling around Croatia right now, so I feel really disappointed that he hasn't done he hasn't showed the right attitude. We've really supported him. Most fans have. We've had issues potentially. Some people say he's not world class, but when it comes down to it, he gets a lot of direct support from the fans, and he needs to realise that Arsenal is a place where he does not need to feel sorry for himself, and he just needs to try his best to deliver. And I just felt he was self-indulgent tonight, and he let his teammates down, and he's put Saturday at risk. We're in hot Croatia, and we've got a Saturday morning kickoff, and we had 10 men for over half the game, and I think he's really let his teammates down badly. Two
Fella Soof says, have we reached a level where we just bench Giroud for a couple of games or more and let Theo and Joel play? What do you think to that, Clive?
It's really worrying, right? Because Jay's mentioned Danny Welbeck, right? And people listen to the pod now. I'm a huge fan of him. Because we don't see that attitude come from Danny Welbeck, right? So, and I thought it was a huge miss. I was really disappointed when he got injured. And for him to get injured and us not buy is worrying, right? So, Joel Campbell, I do like how he plays, but when I see him on the pitch, his presence just looks a bit young and looks a bit callow. He's not really, at this point in his career, should have the responsibility of carrying us. So Giroud, he does need to step out of the team, in my opinion. He needs to step away from the squad and get himself together. But you know what? We can't afford to do it. We have no options. We literally have two players who can play centre forward. One, some people still debate if he can play centre forward, and the other, it's been widely documented, we're looking for a striker to replace him. So it's not really great positioning where we are right now, and I don't think we have much choice. I do like Joel Campbell. I'm not just saying it because he's no option. I like how he plays. I thought some of his distribution was excellent today from the right-hand side. He needs minutes in the game, but we can't really rely on him to take us where we need to go.
Okay. The rest of the team then, the Cazorla Arteta Axis partnership. I noticed at half time, as I was saying to you before we went on, Clive, that Ian Wright highlighted their positioning for the goal, for the lead up to the first goal. They didn't keep to their assignments, they didn't meet their assignments. Obviously Debussy played too narrow, Ox was left chasing shadows, and an unfortunate ricochet puts it in our own goal. Did you see it coming? I mean, is it because, do you think if Coquelin's there, we don't see that happening because, you know, he's got more of a partnership and understanding with Cazorla, or do you think that, as you were saying earlier, it's just a simple case of, you know, Arteta's passed it and his poor play or his lack of mobility affects Cazorla and the rest of the team, and this is what we saw? Clive?
Yeah, I think Arteta, he used to be massively influential for us. We couldn't win a game without him at one point a few years ago. We were vulnerable in big games on the counter-attack, and we took some heavy beatings. What Coquelin has done, what he does brilliantly is he stops other teams getting momentum. So he steals the ball much higher. So if you look at Coquelin's first tackle in a game, he was actually about 10 yards outside the box. So straight away, he's catching people when they're surprising them. And he's almost like a counter-attack tackler, right? So he engages people, so he does not allow them to get their heads up. He does not allow them to run off us. Straight away, when we have the two of Arteta and Cazorla, they're just too easy to pass through. They're just not mobile enough together. And we look like, I tweeted out, we look like 2012 Arsenal. You know, we look like a team that's vulnerable. When Ramsey and Arteta used to play, Ramsey would look great, but they'd break an Arteta and we concede them a break all the time. Great example, teams like Everton used to put Ross Barkley on Arteta and run off of him, expose our back four, and then basically, you know, take the game. So it's an issue, right? It's clear to everybody now. I don't like to say this, right? But it's really clear to everybody that his influence on our play, he destabilizes us to such a point where we don't win the games anymore. And I just don't think he can play at this point for us for a long time. And I saw this in pre-season. Actually, we played Wolfsburg in the Emirates Cup, and they played them together in the first half. And Wolfsburg were all over us. They made a change at half time, upped the pace of our team, brought on some speed, and we ended up winning that game. And I thought, well, come on, Arsenal, you've got to learn lessons, because it was obvious that Zagreb were going to play on the break. And that exposes them to even more. And we just walked into it and didn't quite respect them tactically. And they're a poor side. We'll beat them 5-0 at home. They are a poor side. We just let them have a night against us.
James, coming over to you. The midfield, there's a lot of people pointing the finger at Arteta being played there. Mm-hmm. A lot of people are saying that, or I'm seeing people saying that the Ox hasn't improved in 3 seasons. Now he keeps on losing the ball too often near in and around their own penalty area. I think the second half he nearly caused a second goal before they got their second goal.
Yeah.
Where he just didn't even bother to clear up his own mess. What did you think of the midfield performance, in particular Arteta, Cazorla, and the rest of them?
For me, Arteta, great servant, great man, but apart from coming on as a sub and maybe being the captain and everything for the League Cup and possibly some of the early rounds of the FA Cup if we draw, like a League One or Championship team, he's not good enough anymore. I really don't think, I like the fact that he got that 1 year contract because of his character and everything else. Sorry, I sound a bit like Brendan Rodgers there, but he's a good man to have around, and he does. The players do listen to him. But I think, like you stated, unlike Coquelin, his mind tells him where he needs to go, and he can run there and do it. Whereas Arteta's mind probably says, I need to be there, but his legs don't match what his head thinks. As for Cazorla, I barely remember seeing him touch the ball. I think he was one of the quietest games I've ever seen. Chamberlain, for me, is exactly what I said with Walcott. I think this could have been his breakthrough season after that goal against Chelsea. And then for England, he was magnificent I think he started the first friendly qualifier, whatever it was, but then he wasn't playing the second one, and he was brilliant in that. And he needs a run. If you keep dropping him in and out, I think it's detrimental to him. I think he is a confident player, as is probably Giroud at times. But for me, I think I'll say Chamberlain deserves more of a shot out there because he is a naturally wide player. And he just really was off the pace. Sanchez, I think, is starting to feel the hangover a bit now from the Copa America and everything else. He doesn't look too correct in what he's doing. And as far as Ozil goes, again, a quiet night for him. And people said that he's lazy and lethargic and everything else. I think second half he improved a bit. I mean, he finally got in the box. He took a shot, which was incredible. I can't remember the last time I've seen him actually take a shot. When he looks for the pass, so that was quite impressive. But no, I think the midfield as a whole, as well as the the back line to an extent as well, was dreadful. I mean, Debuchy for me tonight going forward was okay, but then at the back he was shoddy. Most people know my opinion on Kieran Gibbs. I'm not his biggest fan, and I think again tonight he bombs forward too much and he leaves us really, really exposed. And with Arteta as well, you can't be doing that because he hasn't got the legs to fill in for when Gibbs goes up. So. Okay,
all right. I want to ask you guys what you thought of the sending off. A lot of people saying that the first was the referee basically had it in for Giroud. The second one, some people are saying was soft. I think the second one was lazy. Some people are saying it's instinctive. I don't think it was instinctive. I just think it was petulant. It was stupid.
He's just lashing out, wasn't he?
Yeah, and it was. I mean, for a man of his experience, international, played many Champions League games, led the line. He really shot us in the foot for that, and I just think it's unacceptable behaviour. Whether people think it's soft or not, I just think it's unacceptable. And he put his teammates, basically in the shit. I don't know what you think of that, Clive.
Yeah, well, James just annihilated the whole team, right? So just, so we might as well burn them all at the stake, right? So like, if I could, there's two players that really worried me, and Giroud was one of them, but Arteta was the other. The difference is Giroud is good enough, and what's worrying about him is it's his attitude and where he is mentally at the moment. You could see that coming. He'd got himself on the wrong side of the referee and he got himself sent off, and I just thought it was self-indulgent. With Arteta, the worrying thing is we suspected he might not get back to the levels again. He's been out a lot with injury, and it's just become apparent tonight that he may not be good enough anymore. And when he walked off, you could see his face. He's a fantastic guy, right? Fantastic person in our club, in our history, and in our dressing room. But he's not an idiot. He's an intelligent football man, and could end up being a coach. Could end up being a coach at Arsenal. He knows in himself that wasn't good enough, and I'm not sure he could change it. His attitude's great, but I'm not sure he can actually fix this one, because I just don't think he can get back to levels that we need. The team has evolved away from him. We've got comfortable with Coquelin. We've got comfortable with how he has changed the dynamic of our team in central midfield, and the team has become reliant upon that transition and that quick movement, and Coquelin is at the heart of that. And I'm afraid the team no longer belongs to Arteta and Ramsey. It belongs to Cazorla and Coquelin, and we need to try to backfill them, and that's the real worrying thing tonight.
I'm just listening to Wenger's comments, and he thinks that Olivier was unfortunate to get sent off. He's coming up with the usual.
He was unfortunate.
Yeah.
The referee showed an inexperience, almost a spitefulness. He picked on him. He gave every foul against him, and then he sent him off. This isn't like kiddie boy football. This is Champions League football with many, many dollars at stake, right? And I'm afraid the referee just got the ump with him and sent him off. But however Giroud allowed it to happen, we're talking about a 28-year-old international player that's played at the top level for many years, and he allowed himself to get wound up.
Yeah, I think it's silly to say it was harsh. He lashed out at the player. Whether he made enough contact or not, he's still done it. And that for me was just stupid. And it's like I said, just psychologically, I don't know what's gone wrong with him at the moment. But he's just not mentally all there at the moment, and it showed. And it didn't really prove pivotal in the end, but at the same time, it was a silly. Yeah, the damage was done. Yes, exactly.
The damage is done, and it's also what worries me, right? Because we can recover from that, no problem. We've got enough games to recover from that. But Saturday morning is really important to Arsenal and Arsenal fans, and if we're going to watch Alexis Sanchez and Ozil drag themselves back late from an away game in Europe, having to do after a lot of extra running, and they don't perform on Saturday morning, I'll be remembering Giroud and what he did. A lot of people, and a lot of people will, and a lot of people show a lot of patience towards him, and there is no reason for him to be that way, in my opinion. Arsenal, you can compartmentalise what happened with France, and at Arsenal, he's back amongst people that support him, and he threw that back in their faces today. Really.
Yeah. I mean, in the Palace game, with what Coquelin was doing, Mertesacker eventually went there and said, hey, calm it down a bit, but you didn't really see Arteta or any of the other players telling him, because, like you said, the referee was pretty much giving everything against him, and he was reacting, sort of diva-ish, and, I think his first booking was for the Descent, actually, so, you just needed someone, like a senior type of player, or just any player, really, just be like, mate, just wind your neck in a bit, but he just carried on.
He has these nights when he's on like a downward spiral, and it reminds you of Monaco, when he has these moments where he doesn't perform very well, and he basically never improves. It just gets worse. If that first header went in, I wonder what he would have played like.
Yeah,
it would have been fantastic. But he gets in a downward spiral, and he gets down on himself. I'm afraid that's self-indulgent. It's a team game. He has responsibility to lead our line and provide us with an offensive platform. And he chose to sulk, get wrapped up with a referee, get involved with players that are not on his level, not earning the money that he earns, and ends up costing the whole club a Champions League night. And I think that's really, really wrong. And you know what? I'm not sure we can hold him accountable because we've got no one to take his place.
Okay, just listen to Wenger's comments, and he's basically saying that between himself and the players, there's a collective responsibility for the result. Whether he's changing 1 or 6 players is not the issue. So I'm not sure what to make of that. Basically, Wenger doesn't like calling out his players. Doesn't really like. I suppose he doesn't want to show any sort of raw, sort of a knee-jerk reaction to the defeat. So. I'm not really sure what to make of that, but going back to the game, do you feel that collectively, as a team, once the first goal went in, that we looked nervous, we looked ill at ease for a team that is so experienced in the Champions League? Did you feel that it unsettled us more than it should have? James?
Yeah, definitely. I've said that about Arsenal for many a year. I feel most of the time, when we concede a goal, the heads really do go down a bit much, and it takes quite a lot for us to get a kick up the arse and get going again. But I don't know. I don't know who the sports psychologist or whatever is at Arsenal, but they just need someone a bit better to sort it all out, because it just seems that, all them that come in today, it just seems like they never kicked a football together with each other, ever before in their lives. It just seemed like they were all just thrown together and left to their own devices. It just looked amateur at times, and that's just not good. I mean, Chelsea tonight win 4-0. They set their marker for the weekend, and he's on a sticky wicket anyway. Mourinho, the last thing he wants is to lose to Wenger again. So he's going to be buying for blood, and then we got Spurs in the cup. Obviously, there'll be changes.
And then Leicester, and then
Leicester as well. That's 3 tricky games on the spin, and it's
okay.
Yeah.
Clive, sorry, I'm going to speed this along because we've got some questions to get through as well. Clive, what do you think? I mean, were you alarmed? Did it alarm you how disjointed and all at sea we became after the first goal? Because we seemed to dominate, didn't we? Prior to that.
The game reminded me very much of West Ham, funny enough, in the first game of the season. We started that game off pretty well. We moved the ball around and we felt comfortable. And West Ham played deep, and then bang, hit us on the break. Goal. Set piece, goal, shot, goal. First time they've been near our box, we're 2-0 down. And it's a very similar thing. I think sometimes we have this, arrogance is a bit strong, but when we feel comfortable in the game, I think we can be lulled into a false sense of security. And that's when our mental consistency is questioned, and consistency of approach. And that's why, we spoke before, Giles. We've been here before. We've seen it. Monaco was also, you remember the Monaco game at home last year? Mm. We killed them early. I was thinking, we're going to get 5. Bang, they score. And then we become destabilized mentally and in our game. And then we chase the game. Then those distances that we have and that compactness that we have, and that discipline that we have, it disappears. So when we chase the game, we chase it as individuals, not as a group. So Gibbs goes flying up the line. Debussy goes flying up the line. Arteta's left alone. Ozil manages to find the one part of the pitch that no one else can find him. And then we get into that situation, and we've seen it before. This is nothing new here. We can call the games out, right? So, and that's we gotta try to fix that reaction to these games. We have about 3 a year, and sometimes they're really important. This one, we can scratch this one if we want to, by having some good results. My one concern, I've got a couple of concerns really. Giroud, where he is mentally. Arteta, have we lost somebody in the squad? Have we realised that maybe I'm not sure you can add any value? I'm a little bit disappointed in one of my favourite players, Oxlade-Chamberlain. I've got one issue with him. His ability to last games. His fitness levels seem quite low. He does not last in many games 90 minutes. And I think he needs to have a more consistent game impact. Just a steady impact rather than the explosive 9 out of 10s. The next time we see him, it's a 3 out of 10. He needs to find that base game, a more economical game to allow him to last 90 minutes.
Is either you or James said earlier that he probably just needs a run of games in the team, sort of settle him down and get some sort of run of performance.
Yeah, it was me. Yeah.
But no one's going to get that, really. No, we got a few untouchables, right? And I think maybe some of them don't deserve to be untouchable. I'll say he's desperately trying to get into that group. He's started off the season really well. And he's not far away, but we're really hopeful. We've got expectations on him. He's not playing bad. He played for England last week. He looked much better than Sterling playing for England. So we're not talking about a poor player. But I want him to be the player that we all think he is. And one of the things that's holding him back is, I think, his general anaerobic fitness. I don't think he lasts games. He gets subbed a lot. And he was a bit weak tonight. It would have been a decent game to see him in centre midfield and not play him out wide and give us the legs in the middle of the pitch. And I thought we could have done that earlier. And he seemed to settle down when he moved central. He has got more to his game than just running past 3 people, running to the corner flag and crossing it. He's got more than that, and we need to develop him and coach him. I'm not sure we are getting the best out of him as an individual.
Okay, we're going to go through a couple more questions. We've got at Lee Sheridan 10. He says, Wenger's blind faith in players such as Arteta and Giroud shining through. Not the player's fault, it's Wenger's fault. So that's his assessment. We've got at Sammy 239 who says, do you think that sending off of Giroud was justified or not? Just really quickly, yes or no, Clive, justified or not?
He's an idiot. So yes, he allowed it to happen.
Okay, James?
Oh god, yeah, he was being a melt. So yeah, you get,
cool.
yeah.
All right, so moving on. Okay, so we go into the half time, 1-0 down, a man down. Second half resumes. We nearly concede second, as we've already said. Look, Ox has just after they've gone walk, he's gone to sleep in the penalty box. The second goal. Terrible defensive assignments all around. Koscielny seen turning his back on the ball. Gibbs is ducked under the ball. There is absolutely no defence for that kind of defending. And really and truly, as much as Koscielny's on his day is one of the best centre-halves in the game, he's nearly on a par with Ivanovic when it comes to like making rickets in the game now this season. He's made a few rickets. I think was it against West Ham? He was guilty of not closing down against Crystal Palace. People were pointing the finger at him. Tonight again, turning your back as a centre half. Cardinal sin, isn't it, James? Cardinal
yeah, oh god, yeah, definitely. I mean, both of them, and they're both sort of looking at each other as if to be, well, that's your fault. I'm like, it's both your bloody faults. I mean, if it was Sheck and goal instead of Ospina, I think Ospina comes across as quite a soft-spoken, nice guy, but I reckon Sheck would have been like Jens Lehmann back in the day and smacked both their heads together in the changing room after, like, what the, effing was that? You know what I mean? That was just stupid, absolutely stupid. And again, we do lack Giroud when those set pieces come in, defensively. But the organisation of that was piss poor.
Clive?
Yeah, Giroud is our front post man, right? So that's his job. He takes the front post, he clears the ball.
But if your man's not there, then surely if Gibbs is the man at the front post, I mean, no one was really challenging him. He was. The striker was sandwiched between him and Koscielny in the space, so he's got a clear run at that ball. Surely he should, instead of ducking under, unless was he given a call maybe to duck under?
Maybe, but normally Giroud does that role and Gibbs take front post. So what Gibbs did, he did a half and half job, sort of thing you do when you've got 10 men. Okay, I won't do front post. I'll just come out here. I won't hold the post. I'll just come out here and try and do the front post job. Arteta said, well, I don't normally do this job, but I'll try and do this job too. So what they both did was half a job. And they left Koscielny exposed, actually. He was beaten, and he didn't get to the pitch of the ball. If Giroud was there, he heads it away, we were on the counter-attack. Giroud's got a lot to answer for tonight. He really has. You could say we could organise better, but, we're the smallest, lightest team in the Premiership. That is a fact.
But, Clive, the guy that headed the ball wasn't the tallest.
No, but he had a run. Yeah,
he had a run, but look at where the balls come from, though. That's a long way to come from.
Yeah, he's had a run. And I come back to the mental approach of Arsenal when we have a string of important games. As soon as we start to rotate players, rather than accept it and recognise where we are in the season, we don't have the right attitude. And Koscielny, who was imperious against Stoke, has gone out there and said, we've got Chelsea Saturday morning, and he has just played a 7 out of 10 game, made one mistake, and it's cost us. He's not a bad player. I'm not going to slaughter him.
No, he's not.
I think he's a fantastic player, and Gabriel next to him, he's very, very exciting. I remember being on the pod a few months back, and I said, the first time I see them two together reminded me of Campbell and Toure. Those two are going to be tremendous. So I'm not going to sit here and kill them. My worry is the collective approach of Arsenal, how we prepare for a string of important games. We start to rotate, and I'm not sure it suits us. I'm not sure it suits us to do that. I think players second guess, and they've got an excuse to put in an average performance, and that's what we got.
Okay, Theo comes on, looks dangerous. Well, not only Theo, Wenger makes a triple substitution, goes all out for a take. He had no other choice, I suppose. At that point, James, are you thinking we're going to get one back, or are you actually dreading us going down by a further goal and making things even worse? I mean, do you think it was? Do you think when you saw Campbell, Walcott, and who was the third person?
Coquelin come on, didn't he?
Coquelin come on.
Yeah.
Did you think, we can, we can say we can salvage something from the game here?
Yeah, I mean, you try and stay optimistic, and then, Theo took his goal brilliantly, an Anthony Marshall-esque finish, so all well and good. And I was pleased for the guy, I want to see him get more run up there up front, and it was a very well taken goal. And like Clive said earlier, I've seen Joel Campbell getting a lot of slack on my timeline and everything else. I thought he was all right when he come on. I thought he played a few good passes, and obviously he's going to be a bit rusty. He hasn't really had a good run in the team and everything else. And we always seem to bring Joel Campbell on in games where, like, for want of a better word, the game's sort of fucked already. So you can't really judge it. We're always on the back foot when we bring him on anyway. He never really gets a chance to come on and, show himself what he is, apart from, I want to say, was it Benfica or whatever in the Emirates Cup when he scored and Sonogo got 4 goals or whatever. So, he's never really had a proper start and a good chance. But I thought he was okay when he come on, and then Coquelin, the game was already probably lost at that time. But when Walcott scored, I posted it on Twitter myself, and I said, like, I'm happy we got a goal back, but let's chill out a bit, because the last thing we need is for everybody to go hell to leather, and then we do a Monaco. So, but yeah, I thought the game was lost.
Interesting point there. 2-1's not as bad as 3-0 or 3-1, is it, Clive? Still, we lost the game, but it's not. All is not lost, is it?
No, all is not lost. And don't forget, Champions League, it's all about head-to-head, not goal difference. Right, so that goal could be really important, right? So you never know. So we can beat Zagreb 2-0 at home, and then that's all we need, and we win the head-to-head. So that could be important later in the tournament. So, you know what? I'm not happy, right? But I'm not going to hang myself over it. I think we haven't got any options. We're not talking about he should have did this, he should have done that. We can't play the same players every 3 days. We have to accept it, right? So my issue is the ones that came in, they should have shown a better attitude. It's not about not being good enough. It's about the approach and the attitude. And then maybe we found out, maybe one isn't quite good enough. But, yeah, I'm just disappointed that this just feels so much like deja vu. We've been here before.
We've been here many times.
And part of being an elite sports club or a sports organisation is that you learn lessons. You have professional people around you that can prepare teams, coach these situations away, coach these reactions away. And you know what? It's exactly the same as Monaco, as West Ham. This is about emotion. This is about how we react to going a goal behind, how we react when we're not quite at the races. When we're not quite at the races, we don't scrape a draw, we lose. And that's the situation we're in.
Yeah, indeed. Giroud's out now for a game or two in the Champions League. Could be a blessing in disguise, who knows. But let's briefly look forward to the weekend. We've got Chelsea coming up. I've got a question here from sorry, let me get his name out. It's at Zeus_Cannon. He says, is it time to shift Sanchez in the middle, play him at number 9 or number 10? I take it he means he doesn't think that Walcott convinces, and he doesn't. Maybe he thinks that either we swap Sanchez with Ozil in the number 10 and wide and play Sanchez there, or he might think that Ozil's just ineffective altogether in the team. What do you guys think of that? Do you think we're better off going with Walcott in the middle for Saturday?
Me personally, I'd start Walcott in the middle, but it would not surprise me if he put Sanchez in the middle and then Ramsey on the right and maybe Chamberlain on the left. It wouldn't surprise me if he did that, but no, I'd definitely start Theo out there.
Clive, it's an interesting point you made there, James. Clive, Charity Shield, it's going to almost be the same team we're going to put out there, isn't it? I mean, aside from possibly, what's his name, Per Mertesacker, who's touch and go with the virus and whatnot, we could put the same team out. It depends on how he lines them up, whether he's going to go with Cazorla on the left, which I thought was didn't 100% work in the Charity Shield. But would you keep Walcott in the centre?
Yep. What he'll do, I can almost guarantee this, right? He'll play exactly the same team as the cup final, except obviously we've got Peter Cech in goal and we've got Gabriel at the back. So he'll play Bellerin and Monreal will come back in, Gabriel Koscielny, and he'll go Coquelin, Cazorla, Ramsey will play on the right, Sanchez on the left, Ozil, and Walcott up front. And what that does is, and I am a big fan of Sanchez central, but not staying central. I think when Walcott plays, they can rotate a little bit and cause different problems. So I like sort of Walcott and Sanchez. I like the offering they give. But again, Walcott, it was only a couple of weeks ago, he had one of his 18 touch games, right? So, and we barely saw him. So tonight he's come on, he's made runs, he looks quite bright, he looks quite threatening. I think if you ask John Terry who they want to play against, they're going to say Giroud. So Walcott has to play, in my opinion. His movement is it gives people passing options. And Arsenal are all about creative passing options. And we've got players in centre mid that like to see moving targets. We can't give them a standstill centre forward to roll off. Again, this team is developing away from Arteta and Giroud. And in the summer, everyone was talking about a centre forward. I was desperate for us to buy a winger, and I was gutted to see Douglas Costa move to Bayern Munich and Kingsley Coman move to Bayern Munich. I think we need a winger to create options to move our players that all play wide who want to play central. We need a winger who can allow our central players to be more central. That is as important to me as a world-class finisher as such.
Yeah. Okay, I mean, we can't really... transfer window, I suppose, is over with, isn't it? I mean, we could talk till we're blue in the face about the transfer window. But interestingly, Rio Ferdinand made a comment this evening, and he said that he doesn't think Ozil links very well with Giroud. And he's saying what a lot of Gooners have said is that he needs runners, and Giroud is the exact opposite of that.
Exactly. I mean, Ozil is not someone who's going to run past his centre forward too often. So he's someone who wants to pass to somebody quickly, early, and a difficult pass. So he'd like to see a reward. So people like Sanchez, people like Walcott and Chamberlain, and Cazorla, they read him quite well. I think Giroud's not a bad player, right? He's going for a bad patch, but the balance isn't quite there, and we look a bit one-paced, and that's the truth. So, we need something different. Ramsey's a strong running centre mid, and he seemed to combine well with Giroud, but that combination's been broken.
So, let me bring back James into the conversation. James, would you rather have Ramsey sitting on the right now instead ahead of Oxlade-Chamberlain for the weekend?
Not necessarily. I think Chamberlain against Chelsea was fantastic, and also, yes, Ramsey does run, but he's not, as naturally quick as Chamberlain. And I think, like you said, Ivanovic is a bit of a wet blanket. He's a bit of an accident waiting to happen, and you got to exploit all the weaknesses. And I won't predict, but I think, this game's going to be... I can't predict the scoreline, but I reckon this game's probably got draw written all over it. I think both teams are nervous.
So would you put Oxlade on the left, running at Ivanovic, if Ivanovic even plays?
Yeah, possibly. Yeah, definitely. Or Sanchez, would be there naturally, but I think you've got to test Ivanovic. I really do. I think because they're going to look at our team and they're going to try and think who's going to be the weak link, and they'll probably think it's probably Monreal or maybe Bellerin, but Bellerin I think was brilliant in the Community Shield dealing with Hazard, and
he's come on this season. He's come on. I don't have any worries about him as a right back, to be honest with you. So interesting. Clive, coming back to you, we could use, as we did in the cup final, switching Sanchez and Walcott on the left, or even as we did against Crystal Palace, use Ozil to exploit their weaknesses by playing him on the left. So there's options there, isn't there? That we can actually, it's all about striking at the right moment, not going all gung-ho, but striking at the right, penetrating and striking at the right moment, surely.
Exactly. I mean, Chelsea, they've had a win tonight where they're playing the dog and duck, right? So that's not an issue. So, but, again, sometimes players have moments where they feel confident. So And they have moments where they don't feel confident. So if you're Aspilicueta, right, you're thinking, don't play the Ox against me again. Because he twitched my socks when I played in the Community Shield. You see what I mean? So, is Wenger going to be brave enough to play the Ox one side, Sanchez the other, and Walker up front? Is he big and brave enough to drop one of the three untouchable players in Cazorla, Ramsey, and Ozil? Will he drop one of those and say, you know what, Chelsea get a lot of stability from their fullback positions. Crystal Palace, Everton exposed them at the weekend. Chelsea have lost a few games, and it's all come from the instability of their fullbacks, right? Because that stretches their centre-backs. So if we can attack their fullbacks, we are much better than some of the teams that Chelsea have lost to. So, will he do it? Will he, this might be a day to actually not play Ozil, play Ramsey in that position behind Walcott, and then play a much higher pressing game and spring with pace out wide. I mean, that's what I would, if I was picking a team, that's what I would do. And then, don't forget, we've got Spurs a few days later. So it's a series of games where we're going to need to rotate players. Will the players accept it? Will Wenger actually target Chelsea's weaknesses? Or will he play his favourite players and say, just go out and win the game? For me, he needs to be a little bit smarter about how he approaches this.
Okay, interesting. Hopefully we'll see a turnaround on Saturday. One thing's for sure, Chelsea are going to be strutting their stuff, surely. I just want to go to a few of tomorrow's papers. Tomorrow's back page of the Sun says Ox in the arse, OG and Giroud sink red Gunners. We've got in the Mirror Sport tomorrow says Smash and Zagreb, Giroud red as Gunners make it a terrible start. And also back page of the Star, we've got Giroud is red face, strikers offers Gunners crash. And everyone's saying basically now, on the flip side, everyone's saying Chelsea's situation is crisis. What crisis? I want to thank my regular guys, Clive and James, for coming on, guys. Thanks for coming on.
No worries. Thank you.
Emotionally raw evening. I want to say to everybody who's listening, thanks for your questions. Thanks for listening. Subscribe to us on our iTunes page. Please hit the subscribe button. Subscribe to us on YouTube, SoundCloud. Check the website for podcasts and blogs, and the podcast handle at Gooner Ramble Pod for all updates and news and whatnot. We shall see you again on the weekend, hopefully with coming to much higher spirits after fingers crossed, a positive result at the Stamford Bridge. I want to say thank you and good night. My name's Giles. Keep it Arsenal. 1, 2, 2.